Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Friday, June 16th. My name is Alan, and I want to welcome you to my Spiritual Growth Through Recovery podcast. The purpose of these videos is to grow my spirituality by following the AA program of recovery, and I try to do that by being as honest, vulnerable, and accountable as I can be, which is why I make these videos. It makes me put some work in. I'm no expert in AA, recovery, or spirituality. I'm just trying to live life on life's terms and do it sober. The recipe we follow here, we read the daily reading out of the AA Daily Reflections book. There is a link in the description if you would like to follow along. Then I'll just share my take on the reading as well as some other topic, all right, so for today, end of the week here, the topic's going to be open-mindedness and the idea of entitlement, all right? Here we go, June 16th. Open-mindedness. We have found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. To us, the realm of spirit is broad, roomy, all-inclusive, never exclusive or forbidding to those who earnestly seek. It is open, we believe, to all men. A.A. Bill sees it, page 7. Open-mindedness to concepts of a higher power can open doors to the spirit. Often I find the human spirit in various dogmas and faiths. I can be spiritual in the sharing of myself. The sharing of self joins me to the human race and brings me closer to God as I understand him. Open-mindedness. I definitely picked up some humility in that reading as well. So we have found that God does not make too hard terms with those who seek him. If you're trying to make the connection, I do find that to be true. But I rarely lean on it. I rarely try to do that. When I'm not on self-reliance, life doesn't quite seem to be too hard. My expectations are low, and I'm not trying to get for me. So open-mindedness to concepts of higher power can open doors to the spirit. I believe that we control the pathway with our higher power. Was it that self-will talked about? We block that path. So when I'm in the way, when I'm in control, I'm in the way of that path. So if I just get out of the way, it's amazing how life is. It's almost like being the idea of being like flowing like water. If I'm just going with the flow and just not trying to fight things, then things go smoother. But I'm trying to fight things, it's more turbulent, a lot more difficult. So the idea of sharing of myself can be spiritual. I was trying to think, well, how can that be spiritual? I think A is a part of that makes us more humble, lowers the ego. That vulnerability allows people to connect. If we're not all trying to be someone we're not, then the walls are down, and there's just this nice flow of honesty and humility and a lot of realness there. So anyway, short reading today. So that's the idea of open-mindedness. The next topic, I really want to talk about entitlement because I've noticed that I'm entitled. The rules don't always have to follow. I don't have to follow the rules. They don't apply to me. And the thing it doesn't always work that way. It doesn't work out that way. So we're going to dig into the idea of entitlement. So what is entitlement? I think this is another area, one of those areas where when I look up something, the standard definition doesn't really fit. So when I look at how it applies to an addiction, that's where I really see things that relate to me. So that'll definitely show itself here. So the entitlement is one is deserving of privileges or special treatment for others without working for it. In addiction, it flourishes in circumstances where the person struggling with an addictive disorder is insulated from the consequences of their disorder. Such a situation often alleviates the need for sobriety. And this line really hit me because the consequences have been more emotional than really external. I've lost a few jobs, maybe a few relationships, but for the most part, it's funny, I just said that and minimize it, right? I kind of keep things, I haven't hit a huge rock bottom yet. So, sorry about that. So where does this sense of entitlement come from? In a standard definition, it's the environment we grew up in, how our parents treated us or how we were treated by authority figures. I think how adults, they solved our problems for us or not. But for me, an addictive mentality, I think it comes from a victim mentality. This entitlement almost reinforces core beliefs. According to this one reading, which I really, really liked, it's fueled by deprivation, usually a deficit from emotional needs not being met. So on some level, my needs weren't met, that's how I see it. So I'm getting whatever I can and taking whatever I can to fill that, even if it's not rightfully mine. That kind of makes sense to me. Most addicts have never learned how to meet their emotional needs in a healthy way. Yeah, really applies to me. This really one hit me like, wow, I'm just trying to overcompensate and take from various areas that to fill this void that's really not possible. And in the way I'm most reinforcing these core beliefs of my value. It's like either we think that we can do anything to our bodies and survive, too smart to be an addict, which applies, or because of self-loathing, we despise ourselves and feel like we deserve to die. And I can feel both those extremes on the pendulum there. So signs of entitlement for an addict. It's common for an addict to vacillate between being a piece of shit for the behavior or overconfidence that they got this recovery down. And I definitely feel that way. That applies to me. Now more of a standard definition, I think the rules don't apply. It is of special treatment. And I'll get into that, how that really applies. Self-absorbed or argumentative. Definitely self-absorbed, not really argumentative. They feel they deserve better. An exaggerated sense of self-worth, or mine is exaggerated on a lower spectrum. So where is this idea of entitlement affected me in my life? I believe I deserve, financially, I can do what I want. There's really no consequences to that because I make enough money to offset my poor spending habits. At work, I can leave early or not show up at all because I worked hard last week, or I'm sad and struggling, and I need this, more important. So that really affects people I work with. In my relationships, whether I'm in or out, when I want to be in, when I want to be out, the effort I put in, well, I don't have to do that. So I'm very selective, very self-absorbed in that area. When I want time to myself, well, I gave you time yesterday. It's mine today, mine. I can spin any situation to get what I want, whether I deserve it or not. I can spin that. And it really applies in recovery because I'll get sober again, or I'm definitely want to rest on my laurels and not. It's like I know I'm powerless and it's unmanageable, but I don't care because I'm not worried about the consequences to some degree. So how does this impact if we don't face it? I think there's chronic disappointment, definitely unmet expectations, and a habitual self-reinforcing cycle of behavior with dire psychological and social costs. This entitlement affects me at work all the time, and financially, and relationships. I take liberties that I don't deserve, and then I work hard and commit myself and kind of get myself back, and then I do it again instead of just doing the right thing all the time. All the defects that just continues to impact me, and ultimately I think death, jail, being alone, being drunk and high. So how can I overcome this? For me specifically, I need to be more disciplined, focus on doing the next right thing. I really need to face my issues of emotional neglect and that kind of thing, so they're not pulling at me all the time. And I think maybe I need some more severe consequences for me to change this. Now, on a standard definition, it's just stop comparing ourselves to others. Don't be discouraged by temporary setbacks. Do the right thing. Try to look at things from another person's point of view. Try to live in the present. I guess a lot of these don't really feel like they impact me as an addict, but I figured I'd share them anyway. So where are the 5 areas that I need to work on? Like I said, at work, doing what I'm supposed to do, when I'm supposed to do it, not when it works for me. Financially, being responsible. Recovery, work on my recovery more consistently. Relationships, it's not me first. And I got to spend some time honestly working through my shit. So anyway, I hope that made some sense. This in itself took me a better part of a week of really digging into to find material or resources that related to what I'm going through. So anyway, I definitely want to encourage you, as the weekend approaches, to be open-minded to different ways of spirituality, different ways of thinking, other people's point of view. If you notice yourself resistant to that, evaluate how open-minded you are. And I hope you have a great weekend. And I'll be back next week for more videos. So until then, peace out.